talk like you normally would. When I say y'all, I don't care. I mean, that's how I talk. That I could win out there, and the fact that I never did that will always kind of haunt me.
He has actually done something on the golf course that Tiger Woods has not done. Are you still giving him strokes if you play against him?
Oh, God, no. He needs to give me some.
Welcome to the Alex Perry on Fire podcast. And today's guest has actually done something on the golf course that Tiger Woods has not done, which is in 1 year win the U.S. Amateur and the U.S. Public Links. He then parlayed that into an incredible professional career, winning twice, being in the top 100, one of the voices for the PGA Tour. He has a podcast and he commentates for the PGA Tour. So welcome, Colt Knost.
Hey, P, good to see you, my man. Thanks for having me.
Love it. I love it. And, all that is so warmly felt. Seeing you succeed in what you're doing after your professional career has been incredible. And as my journey being on camera and starting my podcast, I appreciate it so much more what you've been able to do in such a short period of time.
Well, thank you, my man. I'll be honest, I never thought I would be doing this. This kind of came as a shock. I think I always hesitate to call myself an athlete, but as a person that played professional golf at the highest level for quite some time, I always say this, like, athletes never have a plan B in life, right? Like, we're going to succeed, we're going to kill it, we're going to make millions of dollars, and we're going to ride off into the sunset and enjoy our life. But that doesn't happen for a lot of people. That's the 5% of the athletes in the world. For me, it was like I was going along really well, ended up getting hurt, and then I had to figure out what was next. Do I keep grinding at 35 years old, or do I switch over into this opportunity with the media? And, I kind of took a gamble on myself and had no experience doing this at all. As you know, I love to talk, but that's about when my experience ended. And man, it's been so much fun. I really do believe like golf led me to this, and this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, all the stuff on the PGA Tour was just a starting point for this.
I love it. And you can feel it on you and you see it when when you're part of, whether it's commentating or your shows. Tell the audience, how did you get started in golf as a professional?
Yeah, so I started golf kind of late. I was 13 years old. I grew up in a real small town an hour north of Dallas called Pilot Point. 5,000 people, 89 people in my high school class, no golf course. Just really was obsessed with sports my entire life. And my friends played. I decided to pick up a club one day, got pretty good pretty fast, and then just kept rolling from there. Got better at every level. Wasn't recruited much out of high school. Was lucky enough that Coach Jay Lord at SMU saw me hit a shot and liked it, I guess, and offered me a little bit of a scholarship. And I knew Dallas, Texas is where I wanted to be. Randy Smith, my longtime coach, who's Scotty Scheffler's coach, was just down the road there at Royal Oaks Country Club. I knew staying close to him would be very important. But even as like a freshman, I didn't really know if I would ever make it to the PGA Tour. And I just continued to get better each year. And then my senior year, I had an awesome year where I pretty much won everything I played in, it felt like. And if not, I contended and became one of the best players in the world. And, I, like you said, what I did that summer of 2007, winning the amateur, winning the Pub Links, was a part of the winning Walker Cup team with some rather amazing names. It was time for me to go professional, and I did. And it was a roller coaster of a ride. There was some good, there was some bad. But at the end of the day, I mean, I played 199 PGA Tour events for a kid from Pilot Point, Texas. I don't think that was supposed to happen. So I obviously wish it would have gone better, but I'm still proud of everything I've done in this game.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got some incredible gratitude just sitting talking to me across the way. But you said some good and bad. What was the bad?
Oh, well, I mean, I think from coming from what I did as in amateur golf, being the number one am in the world, and knowing how much I believed in myself, I feel like I should have had a better career. And I put it all on me. I didn't do the things I was supposed to. I would argue that through high school and college, nobody probably worked harder than me on the golf course. I mean, the gym stuff, that's a different story. But on the golf course, like, I busted my ass every single day, all day long, to be the best player I could, because everyone told me, I didn't hit it far enough. Where I came from, I wasn't supposed to do what I was doing. And I wanted to prove everybody wrong. And for the most part, I did. But then when I turned professional, there was a lot more eyeballs on me. Coming out there, turning down the Masters invite after winning the AM and the Pub Links, got a lot of criticism. But I thought it was time for me to go. I was playing great. And I went out there and I won 2 times on the Korn Ferry Tour early and was set up for the PGA Tour. And then I think I took golf for granted. I thought golf was easy. And I assumed the way I played on the Corn Ferry Tour, I was just going to keep doing what I'm doing and parlay it into a very long, successful PGA Tour career where I win multiple times a year. And that just never happened. I don't think I worked as hard when I was on the PGA Tour, which is probably the one thing I'll always regret when looking back on my career. It was still a lot of fun. I had too much fun. That's why I wasn't practicing as much as I should. But I did some cool things. I just felt like I underachieved in my PGA Tour career because I really believe that I could win out there, and the fact that I never did that will always kind of haunt me.
Yeah, but yet at this point, you still have gratitude for where it's led you in your journey today.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, my life wouldn't be this way without golf. Um, the people I've met, the relationships I've formed, getting to talk. I mean, I get to work next to Jim Nance. Like that stuff doesn't just happen. And if it wasn't for golf, like I said, this would have happened. And even through some of the like, there's chances maybe some of this happened because I met someone when I missed a cut. I don't know. I mean, looking back, I'd have to really dig into it. But yeah, I mean, there's been successes, there's been failures. It's been a great ride, and I really think it's just beginning. Like I'm so pumped for the future, and I love waking up every single day. And whether it's the podcast, the Sirius XM show, or being out there on CBS, like I get so excited to. As I'll steal a line from Lee Trevino, he says, "I can't wake up to hear what I have to say today." And that's just kind of how I look at it now. Like I'm so lucky, I get paid to talk. I mean, that's the dream for me.
I love it. It's written on you. I heard a social media post the other day from someone who said, if I'm not excited to wake up, now this was at 4:30 in the morning, but if I'm not excited to wake up, no matter what time it is, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, yeah, there's all days where like, stuff's going on off the golf course or outside of work that people don't know about, but still like I just wake up and I pinch myself every single day. Like, I mean, I'm not having to put on a hard hat. I'm not having to put on a suit every single day and go out there and grind it out. I'm going out to cover the game of golf, which I love about as much as anything.
Yeah, but talk to me. You're making it sound easy, but you said earlier in the podcast you took a chance on
Mhm.
yourself. And not everyone does that, right? There's a risk to doing that. When you stopped playing professional golf, it's not as if you were a bad golfer. So what went into taking that chance on yourself?
Yeah, so basically, like when I had two separate surgeries where I was out 9 months both times. I had a surgery on my left wrist and my left thumb, and I was on what they call a major medical, where I had a certain amount of tournaments to make a certain amount of money, basically, to keep my status on the PGA Tour. Well, while I was hurt, I got offered a couple of events with Golf Channel through CBS to broadcast, and it was fine. It didn't go great. Like I was in a tower, and it wasn't my favorite thing. And then, the following year when I got hurt, I got an opportunity through ESPN to go down to the PGA Championship during COVID at Harding Park out in San Francisco. And I asked the producer then, I was like, hey, like, I know I haven't worked with you. I would love to try going on the ground sometime and being an on-course reporter. He's like, let's give it a go. And 10 minutes in, he was in my ear. He goes, you'll never leave the ground. You're built for this. And so that was obviously really cool, but I was still planned on playing. And so I was going back and forth playing, and I was getting down to my last couple of events. I knew I wanted to make, since I live out here in Scottsdale, I wanted to make the WM Phoenix Open my last event. Family came out, friends obviously came out, ended up missing the cut there by a shot. And I had two options. I could take this chance where CBS offered me through Golf Channel 15 events to go out there and do their coverage on Thursday, Friday, then early on Saturday and Sunday. Or I could go back to the Corn Ferry Tour and grind, which it is a grind. As a guy who's been out there, I mean, the money's not the same. And after spending 8 years on the PGA Tour, I didn't know if I had the desire to go out there and play with all these young, hungry kids that were coming out of college and were so excited to be there. For me, it was going to be like, I can't believe I'm here. This sucks. I got to play well so I can get back on the PGA Tour where I belong. So considering that, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take this chance. And it was a chance because if I go out there and I bomb in those 15 events and I don't get rehired, then I'm looking for something to do. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, but obviously it all worked out, and I do work very hard at it. Like I picked the brains of the people that have been there before me. Gary McCord has been awesome towards me, giving me advice. Frank Nobilo, who I work with there on CBS, has been great. Dottie Pepper is one of the best to ever do it. Is in my ear all the time, offered me little things that I can do here and there to get better. And I just love doing it, man. It is so much fun. Like to put on a headset and go out there and try to entertain the world as they're watching the best players. It is so much fun, and I'm just so lucky to do it.
I love it. And do you find that challenge because you were such friends with these guys, and you mentioned it, the Walker Cup team, which, Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler, some of these guys that you grew up with playing. and now you have to be kind of impartial to them, right? As a broadcaster.
Yeah, that is a tough part. And also still being close with them, like going to dinner with them, hanging out with them on the weekends. Like they'll tell me things that they probably won't tell everybody else because we're friends. And I'm always very careful about what I share on the broadcast and what I don't. Like I never want to cross that line and be like, dude, I told you that in confidence. Like you weren't supposed to use that on the broadcast. I never want to get there, and knock on wood, I haven't done that yet. But yeah, that's a tough part. And I've also explained to them like this is my job. My job is to tell the listeners what I think about the shot or set up the shot. And if you don't perform, that's on you. That's not on me. Like if you ever think that I criticize you in an unfair way, let's go back and watch the tape and tell me that I'm wrong here. So
Yeah.
that is a tough part though. I mean, I listen to Charles Barkley all the time. He says, you know, these players call me whenever I criticize them, but they never call me when I say great things about them. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. And have you had someone criticize you, or what's been the most difficult part about being what would be quote inside the ropes now to being a commentator and being judged for what you do say?
Um, I've never had anybody like be really mad about like criticizing them. I joke that Rory McIlroy hits his driver straight and hits his wedge because he's one of the best drivers in the world and he's not the best wedge player in the world. He like slapped me on the ass one day walking by and he listened to the coverage that night. And we just joked about it, and I made a joke about Will Zalatoris being the only guy that looks like his putter out there because he uses that long putter. And I was like, we'll see how that one goes over. And like 6 months later, he came up to me and he brought it up. But it's all great. It's never anything bad. Like I think these guys know. I mean, they're not going to lie to you, right? Like I mean, if they had to give their commentary of their shot and it was bad, they would probably tell you it's pretty bad. And I try to be fair. I mean, I appreciate so much how great these guys are. Like walking with Rory, walking with Scotty Scheffler, like it blows my mind how good they are at this game.
So talk to me a little bit more about Gravy and the Sleeves, which is a podcast, and the Subpar
Mhm.
podcast. Talk to me a little bit about that and the pressure, because I started a podcast. Obviously, that's why we're on it right now. And people ask me, what's the pressure you feel from that side of what you do?
I got interviewed several times throughout my career, and I could always tell you what the questions were they were going to ask. And I just feel like we treat all these players like robots, and I don't like that. Like I want to show that Scotty Scheffler has a personality. Like we had him on our pod a few weeks ago, and the amount of responses were, "Oh my God, I didn't know Scotty had that in him. I didn't know Scotty liked to joke around," because he doesn't show it. Because you see him for 5 hours inside the ropes where he's working, and that's his job. So when they get outside, like I want to show that these guys are just normal dudes that are really good at their job, and they like to have fun. Jordan Spieth likes to have a few beers and watch football. He's a young man from Texas. Who doesn't? And I get so excited to sit down with these guys and show the audience a different side of them.
I love that. And I agree with you. We're all human. And, sometimes we prop people up, but what makes other people see the human aspect as them is that they deal with the same issues that you and I deal with, right? Or other people. And you want that. That's how you connect with someone.
100%. I never forget. Like Jordan was one of our early guests when we started doing Subpar, and we filmed it in Dallas on the patio of Royal Oaks Country Club. And him, myself, and Sleeves were having some cocktails. He had like 3 beers during the show, and some people were coming. I cannot believe Jordan Spieth is drinking. I'm like, he's a 26-year-old male from Texas. That's kind of what they do. I mean, like, I don't understand why people are so quick to judge. Like, it's like they're not human. They can't act like that. I'm like, they're normal dudes on an off week. Like that's what everybody does.
Yeah. And, you said it, a lot of ex-professional, whether it's golf, tennis, football, they don't know what they're going to do afterwards. Has there been any, like, I don't want to say like jealousy from any other players, because you've had such a crazy meteoric rise in what you're doing to being on CBS and again, just being very part of what's going on. You are as involved as anyone. What does that look like from other players or people asking you for advice when they see their end in sight?
Yeah, I would say, like I said, it was so I was so fortunate because I literally went from playing to like 2 weeks later working, and where other people are, searching and trying to figure out what's next. And I'll say it is still weird to me that people reach out and ask for my advice on like what to do in this world, whether it's podcast, whether it's on course commentating or just commentating in general. I still think that's so weird because I feel like I just started yesterday. But I will say I noticed a lot more former players trying to get into this business ever since I did it. Almost like, hey, if Colt can do it, I can do it. But which, hey, is flattering to me. I love that. And I never had a clue if I'd be good at this. And I feel like I'm good at it. Some people don't think so on social media, but that's fine.
Why did you move? Because I knew you in
Mhm.
Dallas, and that's where we became friends. Was there a reason that you moved from Dallas and changed your scenery?
Yeah, you kept me out too late at night. No, I'm kidding. Honestly, so I love Dallas, Texas. Like I always consider Dallas home. I'm a Texas guy. I had a lot of fun there. Probably had a little too much fun. But at the end of the day, like for me, when I look at my golf career, I felt I always should start off really well in the season, and that was on the West Coast. And for some reason, I never did. And I don't know if it was the weather in Dallas in the winter, not being prepared. I don't know, but I would come out here to Scottsdale for a week before the season to kind of practicing the good weather and get going. And then one year I decided, you know what? I'm going to go out there in November. I'm going to spend 3 months basically through the West Coast swing and see how I like it and see if it helps my game at all. Well, I love the place. I mean, 2 weeks in, renting a house, I bought a place and ended up having my first really good season on the PGA Tour. And I thought a lot of it was just being prepared, being out here and being able to keep my game sharp throughout winter. And I tell you what, man, I mean, it's hard to leave this place. You've been out here a lot, especially this time of
I
year.
love,
It is so nice.
yeah.
I mean, it's 75 degrees outside right now.
Um, for the audience listening, Colt, whether it's golf or commentating, you're exuding confidence right now. Um, Tell me about how that impacted your game because you just said it. You didn't grow up like traditionally, 8-year-old golfer, 9-year-old golfer, 10,
Mhm.
you started late. You started commentating very late. We've had Jane Slater, who you know
Okay.
very well, who's been doing it her whole life. A lot of people I'm sure you spend time with who went up the ranks to get where you are. But there's something about your confidence that's obviously got you where you are right now in both sides of this business. What did you lean on there?
As far as on the playing side, like I was always the smaller guy, the guy that didn't hit it as far. And so I played with a chip on my shoulder. And I just always had that attitude on the golf course, like, you're not going to beat me. And I think growing up where I did, playing with adults when I was 16 years old, playing for money and learning how to play under pressure and just talking trash and knowing that I was the best player there was huge for me. Um, and that's probably one thing once I got to the PGA Tour, I didn't take that confidence because all of a sudden I was on the driving range with Rory McIlroy, with Dustin Johnson, who I knew for a while. And then all of a sudden Tiger would walk on the range and Phil, and you're like, oh my God, like I'm not I'm not the best one here anymore. Like this is intimidating. And I probably never carried that over until probably 2015, 16, where I really got comfortable and started playing well. And then as far as the broadcasting side, I tell her, like, I'm a golf nerd. I watch golf all day, every day. I don't miss a thing. And I'm a student of the game. Like I love picking people's brains about the golf swing, whatever it is, golf courses. And so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to golf. And so I don't shy away from it. That's why I'm very confident in what I'm saying.
Love it. You put the work in. And, you know, we had a doctor on here talk, a neurosurgeon, but did you use, visualization, manifestation, kind of law of attraction, or did it just come easy to you?
As far as broadcasting or golf?
I would say just both and just I mean, we've talked about just in golf, I know how stressful it is, what high pressure it is, uh, and you're putting sometimes putts are for you might wanna share it. What was the most
Hmm.
expensive putt you had?
Yeah, I mean, people always say, well, it's not your money, so it shouldn't matter that much, but they're lying. I remember at the Players one year, I was, I think, T2 or T3 at the time on 18, the 72nd hole on Sunday, which is a really big purse. And I had a birdie putt to get the second alone, tie for second. It was something like that. But in my head, I was kind of like, at 30 feet, I was like, this will probably make me an extra 400 grand if this goes in. And then I ran it by 3 feet, and I'm like, oh damn, this one's for probably about 250 coming back. And I made that. It's, I know you're not supposed to think that, but like, look, those are the thoughts that go through the human brain. If we're being totally honest, like if I miss this one, this could be 250,000 out of my pocket. That would suck. So that's definitely gone through the head. But yeah, and my confidence, I think, no matter what I'm doing, has always been pretty high. And it's not like arrogant or anything like that. I've always and I've been lucky where I've had success early in everything I've done, like picking up the game late and then breaking par within 2 years of picking up a golf club. Like, I don't think that's really normal. And then getting to
It,
college and not being a recruit at all, and then rising to one of the best players in college. Like, that's just kind of the story of my life, is getting thrown in the deep end right away and figuring out how to survive.
and is the commentating natural where you know kind of how to interview people? Like, what are you going through to get the best interviews? Where the players, I know you said you had dinner with them, but like, you're taking your game to a new level there. Are you doing something new that maybe the older generation isn't doing, or do you just relate so much better with the players?
As far as interviews, like, I just try to make it a conversation. And I want our guest, whoever it is, male, female, golfer, non-golfer, I want them to sit down with myself and my partner, Drew Stoltz, and just forget that there's a microphone there. And it's just three people just chopping it up, telling stories, getting to know this person better. Like, when I first started doing it, I remember, like, I would have questions written down. And our producer over at CBS, Sellers Shy, goes, "Hey, I know what you're doing." He's like, "Write a few bullet points down." And this was great that he actually listened to our pod, because he didn't have to do that. He's like, "Write a few bullet points down, but listen to the guest and just get involved in the conversation." And that was such important advice for me going forward, because now, like, I literally show up with a little note card with a couple of things written down, and we just go. And I am fortunate that I know most of the guys really well. But yeah, I try to make it just fun conversation. I have found, like, for golfers, they get very engaged when they're not talking about golf. And I think that's really cool. So you get them going, you get them laughing and enjoying. I mean, that was our biggest thing with Scotty, was like, let's get him laughing, let's get him comfortable right out of the gate. And then he'll open up and he'll tell some great stories, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, I love that. Same thing with what I'm doing. It's not about your profession. I've said it. We're not defined by our
Mhm.
profession. It's something we do, right? You are so much more than a golfer and a commentator. That's why you get the interviews. That's why people like you. I think it's written all over you. Um, and I try to emulate that. And actually, from what you've done, it gave me confidence. And I can say that. You said, like, if Colt could do it, I didn't think if Colt could do it. I just loved what you were doing, and you put yourself out there, and it's an art. So you're doing incredible at it. But a question I think people would want to know, I certainly want to know, you got a foursome of golf.
Mm.
Where are you playing and who are you playing with? I know you get this question, but we got to
The
ask it.
course is easy. It's Shadow Creek out in Vegas, which is my favorite place in the world. There might be better golf courses, but there's not just a better all around experience than Shadow Creek. I was just there this past week, and I mean, actually have the hat on right now. I get so excited every time I go out there. As far as, I mean, for me, like, just being a sport junkie, like, in the people I've had the chance to meet. I've played golf with two of them. I mean, Charles Barkley is just fantastic. He's entertaining, and he sucks at golf, so he's easy money. So he's invited. Michael Jordan was my hero growing up. Um, Playing golf with him just is. It's so weird that the two guys I'm bringing in this group I've played golf with, and the one that actually plays golf for a living I've never played golf with, and that'd be Tiger. Obviously, I actually have never played golf with Tiger Woods. I've walked in his group commentating, hung out with him, had dinner with him, but never got a chance to play with him. So, and he's pretty much the main reason, like most people my age, that I got into the game of golf and really fell in love with it. I mean, that '97 Masters, I was 11 years old, 11 years old at the time. That's the reason I started playing golf, was what I saw him do around Augusta National.
Is there a moment that you think is really something that defines his career?
I mean, there's so many, in my opinion, whether it's the '97 Masters, 2000 U.S. Open, winning by 15 at Pebble Beach with a triple bogey. Like, that was just, the whole year of 2000, he was playing golf that no one else has ever seen before, and he was so much better than everybody else. It was unfair, but I always go to the 2005 Masters, when the chip in on 16, catching the slope against Chris DeMarco, Vern Lundquist, who also I've gotten the chance to work with the last couple of years. He just called his 40th and final Masters, and that call there, "In your life," I mean, oh wow, screaming, like, that was such an awesome moment. The shot Tiger hit, but then the call that Vern made. I mean, Vern reacted like all of us would as a fan, and to do it on national television was so cool.
Love that we're manifesting it. I bet you play with him the next year. I love that.
I don't know. He can't really play anymore. His old ass is crippled.
Maybe a par three.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I'll go to his house and chip around and hit balls in his backyard. I'll count that.
Are you still giving him strokes if you play against
Oh
him?
God, no. He needs to give me some. He's still so good. It's so impressive watching him hit the golf ball on the range. He's still got all the shots, and even around the greens, it's just so special. It's just, if he can walk 18 holes, man. I feel so bad for him because I mean, arguably, in my opinion, he's the GOAT. But I think if he could have stayed healthy, like he would have shattered Nicklaus's major record.
And I'll say, I remember I went to the first time I went to the Masters, and when he set foot on the grounds, an aura was around him
It's
and just totally different,
Oh,
right?
I mean, just from playing in the same tournaments as him, like being on the PGA Tour, and when it was a tournament where Tiger was in, where it wasn't, it was two totally different feelings. Like you could feel the buzz. I remember he played Tampa one year, and he hadn't played there in years. They had to add 3 extra entrances because of the amount of people that were there. And I'll tell you a quick story about that. So the range there at Innisbrook, it's probably 40 or 50 yards wide, which is really small for PGA Tour standards as far as how many people can hit at once. And he comes onto the range, and this place is 10 to 15 deep. There's thousands of people around or all around the range watching him hit balls. He leaves. 30 minutes later, the number one player in the world, Rory McIlroy, walks on the range, and there's 10 people watching him hit balls. And I was like, that is
Wow.
the difference right there. And I'll never forget I think my second Masters I was at Monday. Drew and I are walking, and you've been there. You walk past the merchandise shop and all that, and you're walking towards that first fairway. We get out to the first fairway, and it is just lined on both sides. And this is Monday. And I'm like, good God. I mean, that's a little ridiculous. I mean, there's thousands of people on a Monday on the first hole. All of a sudden, down the hill, here comes Tiger, Justin Thomas, and Fred Couples. And I'm like, makes sense now.
Yeah, it's crazy the energy. Do you think it elevated people's play, obviously,
I do.
when he was
Oh
there?
yeah. Well, early on it intimidated the hell out of him. Now I still think like look at Max Homa, who was paired with him or grouped with him at Augusta this past year, and he had struggled in majors. And I think it elevated his game and went on to be his best major finish, where he tied for third, was tied for the lead through 36 holes after playing with Tiger the first 2 days. I do. I think guys now they want to show Tiger, they want to impress Tiger. Obviously, it's very hard to do considering his level of golf at what he's played. But yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's just different when he's involved. I wish we could see a lot more of him over the next few years.
Love it. You are fired up. I love it. It's written all over you. But is there something that fires you up on the daily?
Um, yeah. Honestly, just getting out there and getting to talk to all these people, and whether it's SiriusXM or the podcast, like I want to put on the best show possible. Like whether it's I just want to be the best at everything we do. Like when I get done commentating at CBS, I want to be known as the greatest on-course analyst there ever was. I mean, I just strive to do that. And I want to do everything I can to make sure I am the best. And if I'm not, at least I can go to bed at night knowing that I gave it my all. And like I said, I just can't believe that this is my life. I mean, as Charles has always told me, he's like, man, we're getting paid to talk. We're just robbing people. And I think that's so cool.
But obviously, I'm just going off that you learned from your professional career to take it differently, a different step this time because you want to be elevated to that level.
Yeah, it is. But this is much different. Like I can go out and have fun at night and have several cocktails and wake up and go talk at 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's not a problem. And still make everything somewhat make sense. But yeah, like I said, I'm so blessed to do what I do, and I'll never take it for granted. And the fact that I get to go out there and like playing in all those tour events I did, if you came out there and walked with me at a major or any tournament, and the amount of people that yell at me, the amount of people that stop and ask me for autographs now compared to when I was actually playing, it's just a joke. And I find it so funny, but it's cool that like people love listening to me because when I'm recording the podcast or SiriusXM, I have no idea how many people are listening. I have how many people are watching us on CBS. But when people come up to me and tell me, thank you for what you're doing for the game of golf, like that means the world.
Well, and I think what you see in yourself is that you're real. So it's authentic. It comes through. I think that people relate so well to authenticity, and that's what they're seeing. And they're not just seeing some, ex golfer. They're seeing someone who cares. They're someone who studies the game, and they're also seeing someone who you just said it. I'm not afraid to tell you I had a couple of beers and came on show. Whether it was the night
Yeah.
before. I'm not saying, and that's just real life, right? We're not hiding things because we don't, society might not deem that as, acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, I am who I am. And I mean, that's one thing I was told when I got hired by CBS. They're like, look, we want the guy who sits at the table at Whisbrook and tells stories. Bring that to the air. And I don't think that's easy for everyone. And my first couple times, it wasn't like you go on air, and in my role, like you have 7, 8 seconds to get something across. It's kind of hard to tell a story that's worth a damn in 7 or 8 seconds. I mean, it's an art, and that's one thing I've worked on. But yeah, I want to be me. Like I don't want to have this perfect announcing voice or use this big vocabulary. Like I want people to know exactly what I'm trying to say when I say it. I don't need you to figure out, look at your buddy and be like, what did he mean by that? Like whether you're a diehard golfer, an 18 handicap, or a guy tuning in for the first time, I want you to know what I'm talking about.
I love that. If someone hits an awful shot, I want to hear that was an awful
Yeah,
shot.
not some weird technical term that no one knows what it means.
Um, Talk to me real quickly about LIV Golf. When that was going on, what was your impression, and B, what is it now?
Yeah, obviously it was a big shock when it all started. We had heard rumblings that it could possibly get going, and then when it finally did there in London, like I'm honest, and CBS knows, I got offered a job by LIV before they wanted me to start there in London when it first got going, and I turned it down. I didn't really believe in the product. It's still, I don't love the product. I think there's a lot going on. I'm not obsessed with team golf. Like in my opinion, team golf is something very special, and that happens once a year, and that's the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup. And I think it's such an honor to represent your country and be a part of that team. Um, I hate the closed shop that it is, and I hate that the PGA Tour is starting to go that direction a little bit, where they're starting to limit the number of cards. They're getting these signature events that are 70 people. Like I'm not a fan of that. Like golf was made where you could be a real estate guy like you are, sign up for Q School, succeed, and get out there and be on the PGA Tour playing against the best players in the world. I love that. I love people going out there on a Monday qualifier getting in. And I also love the fact that the PGA Tour events have always had a cut. As a professional, you had to go out there and play well the first 2 days if you wanted to make a check. And I just hate that they're going away from that. The LIV stuff, I respect the hell out of all their players. Like they are so good, and I don't blame one guy for taking 100, 150, 200 million dollars, whatever it is. John Rahm is a very, very good friend of mine that I play a lot of golf with here in Scottsdale. I mean, the report is 400 million, whatever. How could you say no to that? But at the end of the day, I hope this all goes away. I hope they come together, because doing what I do and being a golf fan, I want to see the best players in the world playing against each other as much as possible. I hate that it's only 4 times a year. I wish it was 8. I wish it was 10, 12. I wish it was every week. But the fact is, right now, it's not. And hopefully, here pretty soon, that changes.
Yeah, and as a golf fan, I'm a golf fan, and I used to watch every tournament. I can tell you right now, I watch less than half of what I watched because of fields and not having the best field in them, and struggling to recognize a lot of the names. Or the I also want to say, like, the pressure, right? There was so much pressure at one point, like make 125 money list, that changes your life, other things. And that was lost a little bit, I think, with LIV.
It's kind of, in my opinion, turned into an exhibition a little bit, what it seems like with the shotgun start, only it was 48 guys, now 54, all that. Um, I just, and going so fast paced the way they do, it's great. You get to see more shots, but also I think one of the things that makes the PGA Tour so special is the golf courses you go to. Like you as a fan sitting at home, you're at AT&T Pebble Beach. You're like, oh, that's the 7th hole at Pebble Beach. I did this, and there. And there's certain golf courses that are iconic. TPC Sawgrass, like 16 at Scottsdale, and then at Augusta, obviously, every single hole there as a fan. And I think LIV lost that a little bit. Obviously, they have made players on the PGA Tour and all of professional golf a lot of money. There is no doubt. I mean, they have made the PGA Tour raise the bar as far as prices and as far as purses and everything. But is it good for the game of golf? No, I don't think it is. As far as the way the PGA Tour ran as a business, that's way above my pay grade. I would have to look into that a lot more, obviously, and I haven't taken the time to do that. But I've been a fan of the PGA Tour my whole life. My goal is to be on the PGA Tour, and I still will always consider that the pinnacle of the game.
And last question on LIV, but I'm interested in this because you hear rumblings, and you said John Rahm's a good friend of yours, and there was word that, hey, if he could give the money back and go back on the PGA Tour, that's something he'd do once he recognized that, the pressure of LIV didn't exist. The things that you're talking about, the iconic holes, the iconic tournaments, the notoriety you get playing on the PGA Tour, the camaraderie of the players, etc. Is that something you hear quite a bit? And if so, even from Rob?
I like to keep what John and I talk about on the golf course private. That's his business if he wants to share it. I mean, he was very open, I know, in some interviews talking about how it was hard on him seeing Phoenix Open going on when he lives just down the road. He loves Torrey Pines in San Diego. It was hard for him to turn on the TV and watch guys competing there when he knows he obviously could have been there, but he took generational money, life-changing money. And in my opinion, I think he thought with him being as a big a name as he was, him going over there could possibly get these two merged together quicker. And that just hasn't happened. So I don't know. I know he would love to play on the PGA Tour at some events if possible. As far as his time on LIV, I don't think he regrets going over there. I mean, financially, how could you?
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe it's just time will tell with some of these players and just the game. I think as a fan, I would love it for it to merge, right? And I
Of
don't
course.
blame when this was going on, good buddy of mine who I think, Martin Flores, who's no longer playing golf and has been on the podcast. And I asked him, he's like, man, if they offered me money, I gotta go. I gotta take care of my family. I've got to do what's best for me. And I'm like, yeah, of course.
Of course. I mean, the money they're throwing around, it's crazy. I mean, the money they threw me was way more than I ever thought it would be. And yeah, it's a hard decision, but just your life is going to be a lot different going over there. I mean, there's a lot of requirements from them. Um, you're not traveling Scottsdale to Dallas, Scottsdale to Chicago. I mean, you're going to Singapore, you're going to Saudi, you're going to Australia, you're going to Spain. Like you're traveling a lot. And so it's like, what quality of life do you want to have? You can only play 14 weeks a year, which is great. If you're that kind of guy like me, I want to play 25 weeks a year, but you're playing 14 weeks a year. You're getting guaranteed money up front, and you're also getting guaranteed money because there's no cut. And each week, I mean, the winner's $4 million. The money's nuts.
Yeah, but the prime example for someone like you who turned down that money is that look how happy you are now, doing exactly what you love. You're still paid well, and you it's written all over you that it's your dream job. You said you wake up happy. What can't put a price on that?
100%. And that's one of the things I talked about with Natalie. And like, she's like, you can do what you want. It's your life. It's your choice, but I got to do what makes me happy. And like, I'm 100% honest with people. Like, I care what people think as well. Like those guys out there on the PGA Tour that are very good friends of mine, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Garrett Woodland, like I never want them to be like, I can't believe you're over here. I can't believe you took the money. I would never want that to be something because I've seen what this has done to some players and their relationship with others. Now it's gotten better, but at first, like there were some very tense times out there.
Yeah, we saw that. This has been incredible. I could talk to you all day as a golf nut to a golf nut. On the podcast, we donate to every guest charity of choice. So we'd love to know who'd you like us to donate to?
Oh, man, that is so nice of y'all. I've been very lucky the last couple of years to get involved with the Arizona Cancer Foundation for Children. They do an unbelievable job. They've built this incredible facility and just do great things for the community. And anything to help children out, I'm all for. So it would be awesome for y'all to do something with them. And we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We will get that to them. It's an incredible cause. I've heard about it. So yeah, pleasure. And just, I want to thank you. And I'll leave with this. I am humbled that you came on the podcast. I truly think that you are one of the top in your craft, and for you to take the time to come on here, share your journey. And then as for the audience, like, it's a pleasure to go watch you do what you do. You make watching golf fun for me, and I think for a lot of people.
Well, thank you. It's very nice of you to say. You've been so great to me over the years. It sold me my first ever house I bought in Dallas. God, I wish I still had that thing. It'd be worth a gazillion. But man, we've had some good times.
Great times. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Alex Perry on Fire. It means so much to me and the wonderful team that makes this all possible. I'm now passing the flame to you. Please follow, like, and subscribe so you can always stay up to date. Thanks again, and stay fired up.